We really appreciate that everyone's here today. Mike and I are going to take you for a tour around, and first of all, I think we want to say, like, yeah, we are going to show you that there's tips and tricks of this fantastic software. But more than that, the why that we're doing this is that, we've seen in the many years that we've worked with this program, we've seen it change people's lives. We've seen it, create financial stability for the retailers that we've worked with over these many years, and that's what we all at Retail Orbit get very excited about. We will take you into lots of great features, and there is lots of bells and whistles to this software, but it is mostly about creating stability, wealth, and really a good environment for you to be able to run your business and create cash flow. So that's why we get excited about this. And for many of you that have kind of known us over the years and trained with us, you'll know that we do get excited about this stuff. So with that, first of all, I'm going to take you to kind of the overall view of the Retail Orbit software. So you notice when I kind of pan down, we are logged into www.retailorbit.com. Very simple. It is a 24/7 software as a service in the cloud, available for you at all times. Depending on the kind of system you have, point of sale system that you work with, you might have daily updates. You might have a manual system that updates on a less frequent basis, but you will have that available information at your fingertips online at retailorbit.com. And with that, once you're logged in, the first thing I want to say before we kind of orientate you around the program is that you cannot break anything in this program. Okay, it's very important to know that we want you to get in and play with this software and try it out and test things, because as you learn, you'll discover things that will absolutely change your business, and it is not a hard thing to do. So be brave, jump in there if for those of you that haven't, and give the software a try. So with that, once you've logged in, what I want to do is just give you a quick overview of the different tabs that are available in your profile. So when you log in now, what you'll find at the moment is that I'm in the home screen. Mike and I often kind of term it the dashboard, and so that's one of the screens that we'll be working with. You can see on this screen right now that this is kind of a weather check for your business. It talks about the sales, the inflow or the receivings, and the inventory. And it introduces you to the two concepts of, measuring your business. Measuring your business against the merchandise plan, against your plan, your sales forecast, your inflow forecast, and your inventory forecast, as well as showing you how you're doing against last year. So it's a real, and we call it a weather check because there's a lot more in this program to dive into. But you think about it, the three pillars of retail are sales, are inflow or receivings, and inventory. Without harmony between those three things, you will not have success. Okay, so this is the real basis of the program, and you get lots of really good graphical features to see how am I doing against the plan, or how am I doing against last year. You can drive into many different areas of this particular screen as well. Have fun with it. You can't break it. You can drive into your different locations, to your categories, your classes. You can see your trend, or you can review back on last month and have a look at how your month ended. So that's the first tab. The second tab is the KPI tab. The KPI tab, or key performance indicators, will introduce you to the measurements that we use for your business. Okay, now, and it's an extensive list, and you can talk to us maybe after the session. Mike and I have put together, for many of you we shared over the years, a cheat sheet of these different KPIs, or these indicators. This area allows you to see what the plan is forecasting, is projecting your business to do in the last year versus what you've done in previous years, and you can get a context of things like, what margins we want you to achieve, what sales we want you to achieve, what we want to see you doing in your turns of your inventory, which is the second tab. The third tab that we're going to spend some time on is the analytics tab. Now, the analytics tab, this is something that I do get very excited about, as does Mike as well, in that these are reports, but these are reports on steroids. These are reports that we've developed over the years. Now, and when I say developed, this has come from a retail brain. You know, each of us has spent many, many years as retailers like yourselves. We've developed these reports to align with the success of your business. And I would challenge you to find reports out there in the retail technology world that are smarter and more direct to you being successful than these reports. So yeah, we get excited about them. They're very well designed, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail. We're going to pick out a couple of gems for you in these particular reports as well, and show you some of the ones that Mike and I really favor in terms of, you know, looking at it and actioning and working with your stores. The next one, and probably I would say, you know, the king of all tabs on our program, is the report library. The report library is where you will find the merchandise plan. And the merchandise plan on demand, is the hub of everything that we do. It's a lot of information. That's why we build these reports in the analytics tab to help you kind of disseminate that information and action it. But the merchandise plan is found in the retail or the report library. And we're going to go into that, spend more time on the report, on the plan itself, in a little bit later. Then the next tab, which is a tab that I do want to make sure you're familiar with, the data tab. Now, the data tab, I won't spend a lot of time, but I will say this is where the rubber hits the road between your point of sale system and Retail Orbit itself. This area really doesn't lie. It brings in raw information from your system, whether it be Shopify or Heartland or Retail Pro or whatever it might be, and they join together. They're mapped together in this area. So this area will allow technicians and even sometimes yourself to investigate issues between the two programs. We won't say too much about this area, but that is where they join. That is where they come together, whether it be on a daily basis, automatic through our Retail Orbit or shuttle, or whether it be through a more manual process. The profile is an area. Sorry, Mike. Yep.
Before we leave this tab, could you
Mhm.
just put your mouse over the updated last night so that they can see that last
Oh,
date
thank
we got
you.
for this plan was last night?
Yes, fantastic. Like you'll see there, and that's a great call, Mike, that you'll see when that was last updated, and as Mike said, was last night. So you can see the frequency of which that your data is coming in. And sometimes that's a great thing to look at, because say, for instance, you go into a report and you're like, hang on, I had a lot more purchase orders in than what I'm seeing on the report here. Well, it may be that this was last night's information. You put your purchase orders in this morning and it hasn't come through or refreshed as yet as well. So thanks, Mike. That's a great point. Um, and then moving into, so the profile pages, I'm not going to spend much time on the profile page, in that this is where your setup is done. This is where we kind of, build out your profile, build out our understanding of what type of business you are. We put in as many details as we can that will allow the planners to get a concept or an understanding of what your business is, so we can build out the appropriate models. And then finally, the last tab in this particular area is the support tab. And you'll see my kind of kooky headphones. It's a little bit the same. This is a little gem of an area that you have available to you to 24/7. When you click on that button, it'll take you out to another website that we call the knowledge base. That knowledge base is a search-driven base of information that is endless. But you can put in, I want to learn more about the plan on demand, and it'll bring up potentially a YouTube video, a PowerPoint, an audio session. You've got lots of information. So anything that you hear today, quite likely has more extensive information available to you through the knowledge base, which is very, very helpful as well. There is another segment of the knowledge base that you can go into. And again, click on these buttons, have a look around. When you can actually write and submit a support ticket through that support tab as well, through the knowledge base. So very, very helpful area. We want you to stay in communication with us. We always believe that more communication is better than less, and that's a great area to do that. And it's where we will always update our learnings and our understandings of the program in that knowledge base as well. So they're the tabs, very simple. Not a lot to really work through on the side tabs, but there's a major depth of information inside those areas. And the first area that we're going to set out to have a look at, again, is the area that Mike and I get very excited about, and it's the analytics tab. Okay. So when I click on the analytics tab, it takes you into, let's just say, an index page of the reports that we've developed for you that, as I said before, are reports that are help you absorb information quickly from the merchandise plan. Okay. Now, the most important reports here, I believe, are in 3 of the 4 tabs. There's some ones that get a little techier in terms of the My Export section. But basically, I'll give you a little bit of a tour. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you a little bit of a tour of these particular reports. Then we're going to take you into one of our favorites. And we're going to show you how to function inside of one of those reports and the kind of gems you can get out of that particular report. But the analytics group of reports is really a more monthly orientated set of reports, I would say. There is some information that'll update daily, but it's mostly reports that are based on kind of like a monthly view. The Global Analytics Report is a fantastic report. It will give you a set of information that will reflect on how well you did last month in your sales. It'll give you an insight into how you've been performing in your classifications over the last 90 days. It'll show you where your inventory stands. This is the thing I love about these reports, is that they're always giving you context of sales and your inventory position. And in a lot of cases, your inflow as well. Like we talked about on that dashboard, they're giving you context. One without the other, you will not be successful. Okay, so the global report will give you a snapshot of how you did in sales. Where's your inventory right now? How have you trended and done compared to last year in the last 90 days? And really importantly, do you have money to spend? Is there dollars available in your inflow compared to your on order as you look at it at the start of the month? That I will say, Mike, I don't know if you agree, but this is one where I would put this on one of my top lists of reports, and
Yes,
in terms of the the effectiveness and the helpfulness of this group of reports.
love it.
Yeah, it really is a good one. The buyer's performance report, interesting report. Like we have, and very, very helpful too. Now, this started off when we developed this report. We were going to call it, I think, I can't remember now, but it was we designed it quite honestly to see if you as buyers were conforming with the plan and were following the plan. And as a tool, it is fantastic for that. You can set parameters to look back in time and see, did you follow the inflow plan? Did you buy the product that the plan was asking you to buy? What it ended up being was a report that keeps everyone honest, a report that actually says, did the plan predict accurately for the time you're looking at as well? So you can have a very good conversation and a very good look at, did I follow the plan? And most importantly, was the plan accurate to what actually happened in the business as well? So very, very helpful report. I like to, get to that probably every quarter, maybe every couple of months to see, how did I perform as a buyer compared to the plan. The
Scott,
class,
what I love
yep.
about that report is, we always look at how our cash margin was compared to the forecast, pretty much on a store or business level. And this report allows you to see the classes that gave you that margin and the classes that fell short.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point with the buyer's performance report, because it focuses on the money that you made, the cash that you made
Yeah.
or didn't make potentially because of what you brought in or didn't bring in a particular classification. So it's very objective in terms of what you're able to do in creating cash in the business over a period of time. Great point. The class performance report it's a balancing act. Okay, I like to think of the class performance as that, again, remember, there's going to be a single theme throughout this training, and it's always about the balance between your sales, your inventory, and your inflow. Well, that's exactly what the class performance report does. And it becomes a very simple report for you. It can be on one page. Many of your merchandise plans could be 20, 30, 40, 50 pages long. This is one page where it says, what did I sell for the period of time that you choose? How much did I flow, and what do I own in terms of inventory, and how do they rate with each other? So you can scan your fingers down the report and say, do these make sense? Am I bringing in the right amount of goods for what I'm selling? Do I own the right amount of goods for what I'm selling? Is there anything that stands out that, whoa, hang on a second, these sweaters, I've got so many sweaters here, and the sales relating to the inventory I own, it just doesn't look right. I've got to do something with those sweaters, so it's a balancing act. And then finally in the analytics, the inventory performance. Now, I would really appeal to you to learn these analytics that occur on the inventory performance report. They are what we call our KPIs. You're going to see cash margin. You're going to see GMROI and CMROI. You're going to see turn. You're going to see efficiency, and you're going to see freshness. Okay. Now, all of these things we refer to on the plan, they're like, we're true believers in measuring your business, and this is where your measurements are, your key measurements. This is where, the juggernauts of retail come together. How much money am I making in margin? How many turns am I getting with that inventory? When I put those together, I get GMROI and CMROI ratings. I get to rate my business on the success that I'm having and how much cash I'm producing and whether I'm paying the rent on these classes or not. And what Michael kind of show us later too is how you can actually sort these reports to look at where your true profit potential, I guess, is coming from in the inventory performance report. Great report. Now, I'll just a little key with that report. Most of the KPIs, these key performance indicators, they're 12-month rolling calculations. They don't necessarily change overnight. Okay, so you might not want to be obsessing over this report on a daily basis because it might not change that much. But the important thing is, as you look at it, maybe every month, every couple of months, that you're positively moving in the right direction, that your KPIs are moving forward. So that's the analytics tab of the program, which is a really kind of helpful, more monthly view. I'm going to skip the export section. There's more complex reports in here for people that like to pull out information, maybe put it into another program or load it into a sales performance or something like that. The easiest, simplest report that we provide you with is the progress report. Now, that progress report is very, very simply your sales versus plan and your sales versus last year. This is the one that I would recommend that when it comes to maybe your store managers sharing with your team, very easy report to relate to, very easy to run, and can be a great one to get down on the sales floor with the team and just say, hey, this is where we are in our classes right now. We're really beating plan and last year on 3 of these classes, but hang on a second, what's happening to our blouses at the moment? Like we just seem to be lagging behind. Is it a merchandising issue? Is it a selling issue? Is it a fit issue? Like, it's a great conversation piece, the progress report. Now, there's more information available to you in a lot of these reports, and it is very simple, but it's a good conversation piece to have with your team, I think. Can be really kind of a
And
helpful one.
Scott, I think a retailer really would be well served to look at that every morning.
Oh, great call. Great call. What a good morning report that is, for sure, because it's so easy to respond to and
Yeah.
action, especially as a merchandiser, right? Which, like, it could be as easy as like, well, you know what? I'm going to whip that product into the window and see if I can make a change to that sales outcome at the moment, for sure. And here we are then on the right-hand side in the take action reports. Arguably some of mine, maybe Mike's favorite reports as well. The inventory action report that I'm going to come back to because I want to spend some time in the inventory action report, looking around and showing you that particular report. The inventory variance report, this is, there's an area of retail orbit that we often overlook that is very valuable. And inventory variance is basically we do our calculations based on your sales, your markdowns, your receivings, and we come with what we believe your inventory value should be from those things. You can figure it like, you do the math, you come from last month, you add it up, and you should have this much inventory. Well, if you don't, because what we do is we take a photograph of what you actually have in your point of sale system, and if they don't agree, then there's a variance. And there's usually an issue behind that variance, whether it could be an incorrect stock count, it could be shrinkage, it could be something kind of a little more dire. It could be a data issue, right? But all of those things allow you to have a second objective view of where your inventory should be. And I can tell you many times working with retailers using the inventory variance report, we've found issues that have hurt the accuracy of what we're doing and hurt our decisions. So think of this as a second double check on what your point of sale system is doing. And if you see variances in that report, there's potentially actionable items that you can take to fix and make sure your inventory is accurate. If your inventory in your point of sale system is not accurate, you can't make good decisions. And then finally, there's two types of what we call an open to buy recap. Probably one of the most popular and requested reports in Management One's history, because it's super simple. Tell me how much money I've got to spend. Tell me what my open to buy is. Okay. You can look at it either on a month end basis for the start of a month, for your, your go to market report, let's call it, or you can look at it month to date. Month to date introduces a thing called trending. Trending is when we start to look at the progress you're having in a month. And then if you're progressing really well, potentially we might up the open to buy, right? Like if you're progressing and trending quite poorly, then it might be safer for your business to retract a little bit from your open to buy and buy less to start the next month. So you can have a report here that gives you a little inkling towards the direction of your business. And we introduce that in month to date plans. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on as well. But the open to buy recap is a really simple one. You can format it in a bunch of different ways. Get in there, have a look at it. It literally just gives you the dollars you have available to spend. Whether you're a retailer that focuses on cost or on retail, you can toggle that report to communicate with you the easiest way that you possibly can, on that with that open to buy. So that's a little bit of a tour around the actual reports themselves. What I'm going to do now is take you into the inventory action report, and Mike and I are going to work around that one, because what we want you to do, one of the things is, so this program is based on a back-end Tableau, which is a form of a data hub, right, where your software is housed. The reason we're going to go into this one report is because basically once you look at this one report, you're going to have the keys to the kingdom to be able to set and work with all of these other reports. There is a similarity, there's a flow to each of these reports. So let's dive in and look at how these reports are built and look at the inventory action report, which is one of our favorites. Okay, so one of the things you do have to be, and one of the things I'm not, is super patient. So, there you will see this circle going around on the report, and that basically is the report loading. So be more patient than I am. And allow those reports to load, and so you'll see there that it's landed. Now, this report lands on a graph. Every report lands on a graph first. Okay, I'm not going to spend much time on the graph. Not a real graph guy. You're probably a lot more visual as a creative retailer than I am. I'm a little bit more of a geek. I like to get into the data itself. But if you're interested in the graphs, you're going to see basically something that is referred to in that report on the graph before. But there's two ways for you to bypass and then move into the juice of this report. One is just every time you see the graph, you can hit the data view button on the right-hand side, or you can hit the actual report itself there on the tab that says inventory action. I'm going to click the data view. Okay, so when I click the data view, I'm going to wait for the inventory action report to load, and then we're going to take you around building it out. So each of these reports, we want you to understand the controls so you can set the report up the way that you want to see it. Okay, so and as we mentioned before, this is a progress report. This is giving you month-to-date information based on the amount of days that have been loaded into Retail Orbit. Okay, so here we are on the inventory action report. Now, the first thing I want you to do before you even, like squint your eyes before you look at the report, I want you to learn and understand how to set this up. And each one of these reports has what I call on the left-hand side, the hamburger symbol. Okay, this symbol you click on and it will take you into the controls of this report. Okay, now each of these controls will give you a different outcome on the screen. Okay, so you want to understand them. Now you're going to find this first control hierarchy is something that occurs in pretty much every report. And all it is a different way for you to list out that report, a different order for that report to be in. Okay, and you'll see that there's many of them. And if you're a multi-store with locations, you might want to use one with location in it. If you have child classes that are not planned but are underneath your planning classes, another great way to look at this report. And if you, in this particular case, this demo data that we're looking at, very simply a single store, single shoe store, we're going to just choose class. Okay, so look and feel through these hierarchies to give you the different orders of this report. When I click on class, it's just going to give me a very simple look at the classifications of merchandise that I have and how they are performing this month through the inventory and through the sales. Now, as I do this, I'm going to come down and choose retail or cost. Remember I mentioned that whichever way that you want to look at your purchase orders or you're open to buy, we have you covered. Okay, retail or cost. If many of the retailers I work with, they like to think about their budget at cost. Others retail. So you can hit cost. And what will happen here is over on the right-hand side of this program or of this report, it'll toggle the cost and retail elements of this report to the cost side of it. And I'll talk about that in a second. The data through and the selling days just tells you where you're progressed in the month. It'll automatically come up based on the data that's been loaded into the system. So we're 24 days into a 30-day month and 80% progress is where we're at so far in the month. So it's gonna build a trend. Okay, it's gonna build an understanding as if you keep going the way you're going right now, this is the way you're gonna land for the start of next month. This is why we talk about trend. And then you can choose, this is a great little feature in this particular report, ending period. Okay, so right over here on the right-hand side, it's got your on order, your updated open to buy, and your trended open to buy. I'll talk a little bit about them in a minute. But open to buy, like we talked about on the open to buy retail, how much money do I have to spend? Okay, what have I got on order? How much money is left over to spend on merchandise? Well, you can choose how far out you want to look. Do I want to look just this month? Do I have any more money available to me in September? I click on the ending period for September and boom, out on the right-hand side there, it's going to tell me whether I have dollars available to me or not. Okay, like it's going to show me what my on order is in the system. I'm still expecting 30 grand of goods to come in, but I've got negative numbers there. Hang on. All of a sudden I'm looking at the current month and I, as a company, do not technically have dollars to spend. If I want to say, okay, but let's take it out to the end of the year. What kind of money do I have available to me through the end of the year? So I can kind of move that out and you'll see that that open to buy becomes a positive number. So a really interesting kind of way to you think of this report, and I'll go through the elements of this report, but you've got an open to buy section in this report that you can toggle and update based on month, and then you're going to have all this other really good information as well. Now, finally, inside of this particular set of controls, you can cherry pick the categories. If you've got a multiple store, you can check the locations you want to look at, or just diving into specific categories. You'll see now, like if I want to go and say, okay, all I want to talk about right now is sneakers, I click apply. Okay, I've got to click apply. The other trick to this is that once that spools and loads, I'll click the X a couple of times to get rid of this this menu off the side of the screen. So I'll kind of go back to that X and get rid of the screen. So now all I'm looking at is sneakers. Okay. And now in the sneaker class, check this out. This is a report that I would recommend at least every Monday getting in there and checking your action report, if not more, because what you get is your sales so far. Okay, we've sold a little over $3,000 worth of sneakers. Ooh, the sales plan for this class is $8,400. And our trend at the moment is only to $3,800. So we are trending, we are not making plan in this class right now. Sounds like an action moment for us, for sure. Have we taken many markdowns? Okay, $1,100 worth of markdowns, 37%. We have been fairly active in the markdowns as well. Looks like I'm seeing a poll come up on the screen at the moment. So if you folks want to engage on the poll, there's a couple of questions there for you to look at. So feel free to jump in on the poll and answer those questions along the way as we go. But think about this, like, okay, we're looking at how we're doing in sales. We're looking at sneakers. Then we're moving into the all-important inventory. The inventory is 12,000, but hang on, the inventory plan is 19,000. The inventory trend, based on the purchase orders and based on the flow right now, is to get us to $21,000. So from 19, I should say the inventory is 12. The inventory we want to have in the building at the start of October is 19. We are suffering at the moment that we don't have the inventory, and you can look at the sales. They're trending really low, but something's going on. The $21,000 inventory trend appears to be bringing us back into the right position, and that is because coming to save the day down the end here is that we've got $5,800 worth of purchase orders on order at cost that is expected in this month. Man, do we want those goods to come in, because we're suffering right now without them. We want to action. So what is the action that we take away from this particular sneakers view? We want to get those purchase orders in yesterday because we're losing sales at the moment without those fresh goods. Okay. You get to see the inflow that we've brought in. You get to see the updated inflow that we should be bringing in, which you could see again is it's not sufficient at the moment to be able to meet the demand of this particular class. I think it's a good example for us to look at in an action report where we clearly see that we need some hustle on when it comes to getting sneakers in. Very important classification to a shoe store, and we are missing goods in that particular class.
Hey, Scott, we've got about 1 more minute here. Could we do a real life example on how we would use this report?
Oh, absolutely. Like,
yeah, put all the classes back.
I'm going to put the classes back in for us.
Yeah. Let's say this was my store and I wanted to look at my top selling or top trending classes to make sure I'm feeding them properly. Is there a way for me to see what my best trends are right now?
What a good idea. What a good idea. Maybe let's look at, and so I wanted to show you a little sneaky trick. Right. When you see the totals here as well, I'm going to make this a simpler report by hitting the minus button to make it really simple. And then, so you mentioned like the top trends at the moment, volume wise. Well, we've got this little option that when we wave our mouse across the trend, if we click on that little down caret there, we're going to get a lineup of top to bottom. Now you can see the ankle boots line are trending to do the most money in the business right now this month. So we are, and we can actually see that the sales plan is 13.9. We're trending to 17. We are on fire with ankle boots at the moment.
Right.
So what a great way to look along that and go, hang on, oh, and here we are, you know, if we're looking at our on order and our open to buy and remembering that our open to buy was out through December, we look like we're in pretty good shape in terms of like meeting the demand of this really important class at the moment. So yeah, Mike, I love being able to kind of use the sort order of these reports to kind of see like where is our bread being buttered at the moment in this particular classification.
And then one more thing, if I wanted to make sure that I'm feeding those top trending classes properly for the short term, maybe I want to look at my open to buy for this week plus October.
Okay. So then you would want to come into the October, and that's a great call. Like, so let's look at that really important class of ankle boots. What was that? Ankle boots lined, I think. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Ankle boots lined. And so, Mike, good eye. But we're okay. Like those negative numbers right now.
But look, compare our top two. One, we're a little heavy short term, and one, we're real thin. So.
Look at that. Look at that. Great call. Like, so our second top trending class at the moment, trending to do 11.9, is actually south of the plan. And hang on a second, as Mike kind of pointed out here, there's a lot of open to buy in that class between the final weeks of September and the month of October. We need to look pretty hard and fast at getting some goods in that particular classification. So yeah, what a great contrast between these two classifications. The two top performers in the month, one has, you know, a reasonable amount of inventory, probably a little more than they need coming up in the next month. The other one underneath it is kind of starved and needs goods fairly quickly.
Right. So
great example.
This report allows you to see those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a really, again, because like when you're seeing it in context of the selling cadence versus the inventory you own, but then also the one thing that I love about merchandise planning is it's the same as the way that you drive a car, right? When you drive a car, you look ahead of yourself. You don't look, you know, our point of sale system will give you a great view through the rear view mirror. How did we do last month? How did we do last year? What do those figures look like? The merchandise plan says, no, look ahead of yourself and see where you need to go. Look at your open to buy. Look at where you need to go. You need to buy goods inside of this ankle boots online classification, or you will miss your opportunity in your business. You won't optimize your cash.
And whenever you get ready to work on your purchase orders, always look at these reports, because don't, like Scott said, don't order something based on last week's information. Let's make sure we've got up-to-date data before we start pulling the trigger.
Yeah, and I love that you kind of called out that on the data page, Mike, like that you always look at what, you know, where's your data up to, you know that in comparison to what your purchase orders are. You're always going to hear us get on a little rant about making sure that you put your purchase orders well in advance. For those of you out there that struggle with it, we know it's a battle, but it's a battle worth fighting. You want to control your business, understand your cash flow, then get your purchase orders in. Make sure that you're looking ahead of yourselves for sure. So that's the analytics tab. Okay, we're in the next few moments that we're going to kind of jump in here. We're going to take you to the report library and to the world of the merchandise plan. Now, there is a lot of information on the merchandise plan. It's why we've built a lot of these analytics reports, but it is golden. Okay, like this is the holy grail of I've never seen in my retail career a more comprehensive and a more helpful report than the merchandise plan. It truly will help you attain sustainability in your business. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint in here. You don't need to worry about 4 at least out of the 6 reports on this particular page. I know they're recording this, but I don't think they're really that useful. You can get better reports on the top 4 from the analytics page. The 2 that you need to be focused on are the merchandise plan and the plan on demand. Okay, and the merchandise plan, we'll talk a little bit about that versus the plan on demand in a minute here. But I'm going to take you straight away. So first of all, just so you know that what you're doing, you've got to, every time you come into this page, you've got to click Generate PDF for either the merchandise plan or the plan on demand. It will spin. I'll show you too. I'll do a generate now. You'll see the window come up, and then it'll spin. When this stops spinning, it is ready to be downloaded, or you can go into web view. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go immediately into the web view, which comes up on the screen for your merchandise plan. So you can, if you want to download it, or if you want to print it, I know people sometimes still like to print things, but or you want it in PDF so you can scribble on it in PDF, you can have that version. I've put it up on the screen right now just because it's quicker for us to look at. Okay, and I'm going to take you for an orientation around the merchandise plan, and I'll give you a couple of gems. Mike and I will go back and forth inside the plan itself to show you where our eyes go when we go to look at a merchandise plan. So the one little trick you've got with this web view of the merchandise plan is you have a quick find area. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put in sneakers here, and I'm going to cheat and get to a quick view of the sneaker page. Okay. So let me just take you through this. And I know it's a fairly ominous document for those of you that haven't spent a lot of time in the merchandise plan, but this is gold, and this is where you will find, a vision for the strength and the progress of your business. There's the colored section in the middle. Okay. Quick tip, the purple numbers are forecasts into the future. They are your sales forecast. They are your markdown forecast. It is your beginning of month forecast of where we want your inventory to be. It is your forecasted inflow, what we want you to receive on a monthly basis at retail and cost to make sure that you're optimizing the business. And then ultimately the bottom section, the purple, is where the rubber hits the road. How much money do I have to spend after I have these purchase orders that the system is looking at? Now, the secret sauce of this program is what we call the stock to sales ratio, or the stock to sales forecast. In behind each of these months, there's a model. There's the machine learning that this program has built over the last 30 something years to understand when your inventory should peak and when it should drop based on the best time to be thick in inventory and thin in inventory and have the best sales outcome for the amount of money you spend on merchandise. Okay, so that's what this middle section is doing in the plan. It's giving you the purple forecast, and then the black numbers on this area are from your point of sale system. Fundamentally, most of them are from your point of sale system to show you in the last 2 years, up to last 2 years, how you performed in sales, what you took in markdowns, where your inventory was in those last years, what you received, what you inflowed, and then ultimately in the bottom, though, looking just at your purchase orders to build you an open to buy. Okay, so you're using this section to analyze the business in terms of what you've done in the past and look at where the plan is taking you in the future. Okay, that's the long and the short of this part of the program. you know, Mike and I will set our eyes. Remember, we were talking about the inventory action report and the lack of merchandise in the sneaker class. Well, here, like Mike and I will quite often be straight to this particular area. What does the plan want us to have in inventory? In the sneaker class, it wants us to have $26,000 worth of inventory. We've only got 9,900. Like we're well short of what we need to be able to make that plan. And we noticed that we were below plan on the action report. But we talked about purchase orders in the system. We look down here and see that we have purchase orders, although we still have an open amount of dollars available to us to buy at the start of the month when we look at this merchandise plan. So you can see we're looking at this plan. We're looking at a forecast. We're looking at, you know, should we be taking markdowns? And the answer is yes. It's a period of time that we should be taking markdowns as well. So you're getting this map, this forecast and story of where you should be taking this particular class. So then outside of this particular report, there is a plethora of incredible information, and it's a report card on your business, its progress. It's, you know, I call it the boomerang or the hockey stick, depending on, you know, what country and what sports you follow. Around the outside, it'll have things like, you know, it'll show you your forecasted sales for the next 12 months and how that reflected against last month, I should say, giving you a sense of like, are we building this class up to do more, or are we taking it down to be more careful? So it's going to give you that sense. It's going to give you a sales versus plan story, a markdown versus plan story for the previous month. It's going to give you a sales markdowns and an inflow report based on last year and year to date. It's going to give you your inventory position at the start of last month, your stock to sales ratios. It's going to, you know, so you can understand, where was my inventory sitting? Was I in the right place to be able to do the business that the system wanted me to do? Even further, it'll take you into a story of did I flow in goods the correct way over the last 3 months, June, July, and August? You know, what did I have on order? Did I receive that? Was it correct to plan? Freshness factor, and this is a thing that we really do kind of like working with. It gives you just a general sense of the newness of your goods. You know, as a percentage of the current inventory, how many new goods have you bought in the last 30, 60, and 90 days? You know, moving through that, you're looking at the net movements, the adjustments in your business. One of the biggest things of all, how much cash are you producing compared to last year? What's the difference? What's our forecast? How much cash are we? If you understand, and I truly hope you do understand what it takes your business to run on expenses wise, your rent and your payroll. Well, you know what that percentage is. Well, here's the money that you're going to produce in cash from your inventory. Let's hope that those two have a nice gap in there so you can make cash and then you can produce a profit in your business. This is showing you where this will go, if you follow the forecast, that's where you'll go. You know, more areas on this particular report. And again, I'm giving you so much, and you'll take your time to learn this over time. But we're going to give you your KPIs, turns, your CMRI, your GMRI. How much is your maintained markup goal for the business? We set a goal through the plan, and we look at what you're actually achieving in your business over the last 12 months. We look at how the blood is pumping in the business, the sales versus the receivings, last 3 months, last 6 months, last 12 months. And we look at your cost of purchases percentage compared to last year. Lots of information versus last year, but looking at how you are feeding this business, how you're building it based on your receipts and your sales. Efficiency is like a sell-through. We're showing you what your sell-through percentages are in terms of this classification. And then finally, we're giving you an insight into your initial markup, IMU, what you're doing this year, what you did last year, and your maintain markup, MMU. So what's it doing? What are you starting at in terms of your margins when you bring your purchase orders in and you receive them? And then after you take your markdowns, how are you landing at the end of the day? Is this profitable business based on your margins? So that's a very, very quick overview of the report itself. And I just finally want to touch on, and you'll hopefully have this recording to be able to slow down and go through as well, because there is so much information to you. But the one other area inside of this particular area of the reporting, the report library, is the plan on demand. Okay, there's a difference between our static monthly reports and the reports that are what we call MTD or month to date. Okay, the month to date reports, like we just showed you the inventory action report, well, the plan on demand is a month to date report. And I want to just quickly show you that there's a difference. So this is the plan on demand as compared to the merchandise plan, and there's a subtle extra piece of information in each one of these kind of juggernauts of the business, sales in the markdowns and the inventory, and it's going to show you how you're trending so far this month. Okay, so it's going to give you a little more. It's still going to give you the information about last month. It's still going to give you information about year to date and all the things that we just talked about. But there's a little more on this report because it's going and it's updating. And I love this report for the fact that it is always current, and it is always current depending on your data that you've uploaded to the purchase orders you've entered. So your open to buy may be different based on a plan on demand compared to the start of the month plan because you've either received more goods or you've entered more purchase orders. So that will affect your open to buy. And I would argue that if you get into the habit of learning this plan, which we really want you to do, that the plan on demand is going to be where all the juice really resides for you. It's going to give you trending, but it's also going to give you all of that good historical information. Mike, is there anything that I missed before we kind of leave? And I want to leave more time for Q&A for sure.
Could we
but
do 1 minute back on the merch plan?
we sure can. Let's take you back to the merch plan. Okay.
Right, right there where we were on the sneakers.
On the sneakers. Okay. So I'll
Yeah.
show you again. I'm going to use that little quick tab. I'm going to go down. I'm going to put in sneakers again to get me back to where I want to go. Actually, I'm going to clear it off to start off with and then get back to sneakers. Okay, mate. What's your question?
So remember when we looked at the inventory action report, sneakers were trending below the plan this month, kind of badly.
Yes. Yes.
And when let's go look at the merch plan. What's happening? Well, we can see that we were under last month by $4,700 up there, Scott. You can show.
Yeah, compared to last year, absolutely, and missed plan as well. Yes.
We missed plan last month. Now, if we come down to the inflow section, last month we were supposed to bring in 15,558, but we only brought in 2,400.
Ouch. Ouch.
So that's, we don't have the stuff to sell. That's why we're missing plan and
yeah.
Even though the company brought in more than they were supposed to. This class, we starved.
Isn't that such a great point, Mike, that it's not this is about, it's not just the sum of all the parts. It's each part and how we can grow the business from really driving into each one of those classifications. This is a great example. Like you said, we brought in well and truly enough. We had enough inventory, but when you dive into what is a critically important class to the business, we're starving it right now. So there's work to be done.
Just one more number. Last month's stock to sales ratio, 2.01. We actually sold more efficiently than the plan said. We just didn't have enough to sell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you look at these stock to sales ratios that we want to be kind of thicker in, we just didn't have that inventory there to do the job. And you can see that in the fact that the plan wanted us to start the month with 30 grand. We started the month with 21 grand. And the result of that is we still did a bunch of sales, and now we're landing in a really ominous position, and we're going to be really, really trying to struggle to get that 15,000 in, get it on the floor, get it merchandised, and make sure that we're making those sales again. Absolutely. Thank you, mate. Great example. Okay. We went a little over time, but we wanted to leave some time for Q&A. To Celeste and Justin, do we have any questions that you want to fire at us at this point, or does anyone have anything there in the panel that you want to feed us before we sign off?
Okay, yes, Scott, I have a really good question from Misty. And she says, I struggle with inventory being too high. I have 46 local makers in my store. I don't own most of the inventory, but it affects this report. And that was when you were talking about the inventory action. Any or more helpful report to look at?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like if you want to kind of simplify the view, and look a little closer at that with, knowing that you've got those challenges, Misty, with your inventory, you might want to go a little simpler and look at the class performance report. Okay, because the class performance report is really just about the inventory and influence sales as they compare together. It's a simpler way to look at it, and you're going to see the relationship between those two things. Like, if your inventory is lagging, you're going to see that difference in your sales. You're also going to see it compared to the other classes. Mike, do you have any kind of
Yeah,
another addition to that?
Probably the most underutilized KPI is turn.
Oh, great
If
point.
you go to the inventory performance report, you can see the turn for all those classes you're talking about and see, if you're really flowing that merchandise in and moving it out as you should, or if that is just stagnant inventory, which is your problem.
Yeah. Like if your natural turns are very, very high, then you really might be losing business. If you look at that turn rate in your business and it's very, very high, and high, might be, in your case, it might be a 6 or an 8 or a 12 turns. It's like you might be churning through and people might be walking from the business as well. And you'll see that your turn rates are in there for on that particular report as well, on the inventory performance report. But hopefully, Misty, that helps you at all.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I would guess from her question, a lot of that inventory is consignment.
That's a very good question, Mike.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if it's consignment, one of the tendencies that some retailers have is, since they haven't paid for it, they don't really try to move it out and clear it out the way they should. So one of the things to do is to make sure that all those vendors that are in there supplying those goods are, if it's not moving, replace it with something that will move.
Oh,
And
great advice.
Oh, sorry, Scott. Misty is confirming they are consignment.
Yeah. Just that, use those word of wisdom, Misty. Like if it's dusty stock, it's dusty stock. Whether it's consigned, whether you've paid for it or not, you want your customers to really respond to those goods in the store. So be critical of some of those goods that aren't moving, even if you haven't paid for them.
Right.
And Misty, do you have your consignment set up as a consignment category or classes? I'm just waiting for her response.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good question. Sometimes it can be it can go either way. Sometimes it's good to break them out as consignment, but other times if they're truly competing with the goods in your store that are not consigned, then you need to make sure that they're reviewed together.
Okay, Misty is saying, no, it is mixed up, but we are revamping the plan in October to separate, which is a good thing.
Awesome.
Very good thing.
More questions, Celeste?
I don't see any other questions.
Hopefully, folks, we haven't baffled you too much with the information we've thrown down. Really, all we wanted to do in this session is get you excited about what you can actually get by going into Retail Orbit yourself. Again, like we said in the beginning of the session, you can't break anything. You jump in, you'll find so many gems, like so many ways to be able to grow your business, inside of these analytics reports and inside the merchandise plan.